All right, our top story today, and this one often gets missed out from the headlines, so we thought it's important that you understand what's happening in Manipur. The latest from Manipur looks rather grim. Early in this year, 2026, fresh violence broke out on the districts of Ukhrul. Homes were set on fire, gunshots were reported, curfew was imposed, internet was cut. This time, the immediate trigger involved clashes between Naga and the Kuki groups. This has happened for the first time. But zoom out from the current situation and it becomes very, very clear that it's not a new conflict. It is a continuation of the same unresolved crisis that began back in May of 2023. Now, to understand why Manipur keeps slipping back into violence, we need to go back and understand the history a little bit. So let's rewind. What and where is Manipur? Why is the entire geography so significant? Now, Manipur, as we know, is a small northeastern state with a very sharp geographic divide. The center of the Imphal Valley, also around it, are the Hills district. The geography shapes everything here. The valley is dominated by the Meitei community, mostly Hindu, politically powerful, economically dominant, urban and densely populated. The hills are home to the tribal communities. That's mainly the Kuki and the Naga groups protected under the scheduled tribe laws, and their land cannot be freely bought by outsiders. So you understand there that there are some who hold power, there are others who hold the land. Meiteis form about half of the population, but they hold nearly almost a little less than 90% of the assembly seats because of the constituencies in concern and the concentration of how it's built in the valley. Tribal groups are spread across the large, hill areas, but have fewer seats. Their main protection is land, the land rights guarantees that come with the constitution. So from the start, there is a tension. One group is politically more powerful and the other is legally protected, also has a very strong attachment to the land. We'll tell you why in just a minute. Now, these tensions, as we've been telling you, are not new. The division started back in 2023. But even before that, if you go back in history, you understand that during the British rule, the hill tribes and valley communities were governed separately. That separation hardened their identities as well. After independence, insurgent movement grew. The Meitei insurgent groups spoke about protection, Manipur's territory sort of integrity as well. The Kuki and Naga groups demanded autonomy and separate administration. Decades of insurgency, counter-insurgency, followed by the Armed Forces Special Power Act, brought heavy militarization in the area. And trust between the communities and the state, that kept eroding. What changed just before 2023? Now that's important to understand because this is where the story shifts. Under the Biren Singh government, two things became flashpoints. One was the war on drug campaign, and then the poppy cultivation was targeted mainly in the Kuki-dominated area. Mainly, many of the Kukis saw it as a selective punishment as well. And then second was the repeated claim of illegal immigration from Myanmar into the Kuki areas. Again, Kukis felt they were being painted as outsiders in their own land. Tensions were already high when the legal spark arrived. And then in April of 2023, the Manipur High Court asked the state to consider granting scheduled tribes the status of scheduled tribes to the Meiteis. Now, for hill tribes, this was explosive. ST status would mean that the Meiteis could legally access hill land and also tribal areas and the quotas there. Protests erupted. On 3rd of May 2023, the Tribal Solidarity March turned violent. What followed was arson, killings, and mass displacement. The state fractured almost overnight. The police armories there were looted, thousands of weapons entered civilian hands, armed groups and vigilantes emerged on both sides. Revenge attacks followed, revenge attacks. The entire locality became ethnically, segregated. The Meiteis filled the hill areas, Kukis fled from the valley, sexual violence cases, mob killings, misinformation. That was so deeply entrenched, it was hard to tell what was really happening. The scale of crisis really grew up. over 260 people were killed, around 60,000 displaced, thousands of homes and religious sites were destroyed. People who lived together for generations now lived behind checkpoints or in relief camps. So as a response, what happened politically here? Let's take a look at that. In February of 2025, Chief Minister Biren Singh resigned. President's rule was imposed. But changing the government did not really change ground realities. The distrust, that remained, weapons remained, the trauma remained as well. The core issues are still unresolved. The Meiteis fear loss of political and cultural dominance. The Kuki Zoo groups also fear loss of land, identity, and even safety. Justice has been slow. Police neutrality is questioned. Dialogue is very fragile. So even a local fight or a rumor can explode into wider violence, which is exactly what happened this morning as well. So, a simple way to understand what's happening in Manipur is this. This is not just about riots that unfolded today or which have been unfolding for the past 2 years. It is about who belongs where, who controls land, and who controls power. Until these questions are addressed honestly and politically, Manipur will remain being stuck in cycles of calm and collapse. And what you're seeing here, right now, in front of you on that screen, is not just a story of what unfolded today or how 2026 has started. It is not a new story. It is the same unfinished story that continues to haunt the state. All right, joining us now for more details on this is my colleague Tapas, who's been tracking all those details over there. Tapas, we've done a real deep dive to understand what exactly happened in Manipur, but it seems like the president's rule has not worked, a new government has not worked, and any new assurances being provided by a new cabinet which has been set up, 2 deputy chief ministers set up, all of that is not cutting ice with the people.
Well, yes, absolutely, Sonal, because over a period of time, it seemed that once those who lived as friends are now bloodthirsty of each other. As you rightly pointed out, that they are now being segregated by checkposts. And this seems to be a new normal in Manipur. Now, over a given period of time, after the precedent rule was imposed, there were violence reported, but there were a lot of hope that with the formation of the new government, with having a chief minister and also the deputy chief minister, 2 deputy chief ministers, one representing Kuki and other representing Naga community, would help die down the situation. But they did not work in the first place. We had seen similar protests happening since last week, where road blockades happened, when police went to disperse the crowd. There were resistance from the protesters, but yesterday late at night, as intermittent firing happened in Ukhrul district, several houses were torched. The question have remained the same. People have come back to square one. What is the solution and how we can reach to that solution? The government have assured all help, both to the Kukizo as well as to the Nagas and also to the Meiteis. But despite that, it seems that the parties are not happy with the formation of this government. As of now, as the latest information that we are getting, that in Ukhrul, there are several places where curfew have been imposed, internet have been suspended. Can you imagine that internet will be suspended for at least next 5 days? That's what the government is contemplating at this moment. So you are cut out from the rest of India, rest of the world. That's been the new normal in Manipur, and it's continuing since last almost 3 years. As of now, additional force deployment have happened. Now more force will be mobilized if required. Checkposts have been set up in different areas to contain the situation. Now even police had to resort to some mild lathi charge in places, tear shells in some places to disperse the crowd.
But Tapas, help us understand what was the immediate trigger this time around?
Well, after formation of the government, the Kukizo and there were people from civil society who were not happy to have a representative from their community as the Deputy Chief Minister when their perennial demands were not met. And their perennial demand remains the control, the development, and also the kind of allegations were leveled against them, the kind of cases that were lashed against their people. They wanted those to be taken back. Overall, what the Kukizo community people at large says that their demands were not met, and despite having a Deputy Chief Minister from their community, they were not happy. There were several rounds of talks that happened with Kukizo, with Meiteis in different point in time, but it seems that the perennial demand of them have not been met. But as of now, the government is leaving no stone unturned as the Chief Minister is taking stock of this situation, and if required, there will be a comprehensive report that will be prepared. But as of now, to keep and maintain law and order situation, to maintain peace in the area remains to be the top priority for the government and law enforcement agencies. That's what they are trying. But as of now, as we speak, the situation still remains volatile. It's almost dusk time now, and everybody is contemplating that the entire night, the stretch of night must pass peacefully. But to keep that, additional forces have been deployed, route marches are being carried out. So that's the kind of a volatile situation that people of Manipur, especially in Ukhrul, are living at this moment. Sonal.
All right, Tapas, we'll leave it there, but keep a very keen eye on the situation and keep updating us on everything that's happening. Situation in Manipur, for far too long, Manipur has been on the burn, and we thought that a new government would really sort it out, but clearly that's not working. They are not in sync with what people on the ground want. Now, in India, justice often depends on who you are, how powerful is your surname, and how big is your bank balance. For the rich and influenced, law is negotiable. For everyone else, it is unforgiving. Kanpur's Lamborghini crash has now become a textbook case of how privilege shields, delays, and dilutes accountability. A high-speed Lamborghini rammed into the vehicles and pedestrians on the road, leaving multiple people injured. Eyewitnesses say the luxury car was being driven rashly at a dangerously high speed. Behind the wheel was allegedly this man, Shivam Mishra, son of a tobacco tycoon, KK Mishra. But the real story began after the crash. Instead of being detained or questioned at the spot, Shivam was seen being pulled out of the Lamborghini, and again not by cops, but by his personal bouncers. Not by the police, not in handcuffs, but shielded by private security away from the scene of the crime. When the FIR was registered, Shivam Mishra's name did not feature in it. Only after public outrage, media scrutiny, and mounting pressure did the police finally add his name. And even then, no arrests have followed. More than 48 hours later, Shivam Mishra remains out of custody, free, protected, untouched by the law. And then came the absolutely bizarre defense, shocking to say the least. First, Shivam Mishra's lawyer claimed that he was not driving the Lamborghini at all. Soon after, his father, KK Mishra, doubled down on the claim, saying that their driver was behind the wheel and even suggesting a technical malfunction. We all know the script, right? But the visuals puncture that narrative altogether. The videos from the crash site clearly show bouncers escorting Shivam Mishra out of the driver's seat of the Lamborghini. There is nobody else who's seen at the scene of crime or being pulled out of the car as well. The video actually leaves very little room for doubt. Yet the defense continues and the police response remains hesitant at max. This case is now riddled with glaring procedural lapses. Let's bring out some of them for you. Number one, Shivam Mishra was not named in the FIR initially. Number two, he was not taken into custody after the accident. Number three, his bouncers were allowed to remove him from the scene. Number four, only relatives, lenient or sort of relatively lenient charges have been invoked so far despite the seriousness of the incident. And as if shielding at the crash site wasn't enough, there's another staggering detail. Police personnel were made to wait outside Shivam Mishra's residence for minutes, hours. Not inside, but outside his home. Let's get those visuals also in, where you can see the cops clearly banging the door and just standing outside the massive gate of their house, their mansion as it is in Kanpur. Cops in uniform standing guard at the gate of this very, very VIP home, not allowed to enter. Hard to believe, right? But in this case, that's exactly what happened. Shivam Mishra is no stranger, in fact, to controversy. If you'll remember, income tax officers had raided his bungalow, his several offices, and he's the same man who was once brandishing a pistol during that income tax raid. Authorities have flagged financial irregularities in their business dealings. During the COVID lockdown, he reportedly had an altercation with the Nainital police. And on social media, a video shows him driving at nearly 200 kilometers per hour, boasting, not hiding, his recklessness. Now, all of this paints a pretty clear picture. This is not a one-off lapse. It is a pattern of entitlement. Kanpur's Lamborghini crash is no longer just about speed or negligence. It's about whether India's justice system still has the courage to act against the wealthy and the powerful. It's about whether the law applies equally or bends under pressure.
पंडित मिश्रा जी, ये बताइए, आपका बेटा कहाँ है?
बेटा सर उसी समय मैंने उसको दिल्ली भेज दिया था और वो डॉक्टर के ट्रीटमेंट के अंडर में है, क्योंकि अचानक जिस तरीके से वो बेहोश हुआ और समझ में नहीं आया उसका रीजन क्या है, ब्लड प्रेशर समझ में नहीं आया, जो भी हो, तो डॉक्टर के ट्रीटमेंट में दिल्ली भेजा हुआ है। ट्रायल करने में वो सिविल लाइन्स में पदम अपार्टमेंट तक गया। उसके बाद में गाड़ी वहाँ से उसने बैक की और गाड़ी लेके इधर ये ड्राइवर के साथ में आ रहा था। वहाँ करीब कुछ फॉल्ट उसमें शायद रह गया था, ये बाद में महसूस हो रहा है, क्योंकि गाड़ी लेके वहाँ से आया तो जो मेरे सुनने में आया है कि किसी टेम्पो ने जो स्थान था वहाँ पे गाड़ी में आगे से टक्कर मारी। क्योंकि जब ड्राइवर से पूछा गया तो उसने कहा ये थोड़ा सा एकदम से कुछ बेहोश होने लगे तो ध्यान उसका भटक गया ड्राइवर का।
कल वकील द्वारा शिवम मिश्रा के वक्तव्य दिया गया कि गाड़ी जो है उनका ड्राइवर चला रहा था। पुलिस से रिपोर्ट मांगी गई है कि पुलिस के आधार पर ही जो है कोर्ट शायद वो कार्रवाई करेगी। आप लोग का क्लियर स्टैंड क्या है, गाड़ी कौन चला रहा था?
ये शुरुआती दौर में देखा होगा आपने कि जो तौफीक जो इंजर्ड था उनकी एप्लीकेशन पे एफआईआर पंजीकृत होती है, जिसमें गाड़ी का नंबर होता है केवल और ड्राइवर का डिटेल नहीं होता है। हमारी टीम उसमें हमारा जो विवेचक है इन्वेस्टिगेशन करता है और इन्वेस्टिगेशन में वो सीसीटीवी फुटेज और लोगों के उसके डिटेल होगा और गाड़ी का डिटेल लेकर के हमें पता लग जाता है ये गाड़ी किसकी है और गाड़ी ड्राइव कौन कर रहा था। इनके विवेचना में उनका नाम आया है तो हमारे पास पुख्ते सबूत होंगे, इसके आधार पर उनका नाम आया। तो गाड़ी को ड्राइव कर रहे थे शिवम मिश्रा कर रहे थे। उनका अधिवक्ता कुछ भी कहें, लेकिन हमारी जांच में शिवम मिश्रा जो है गाड़ी को ड्राइव कर रहे थे और उन्हीं के खिलाफ वैधानिक कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
All right, Simar Chavra, my colleague who's been tracking all the details on the story, joins us live for more updates on this one. Simar, help us understand this. You've spoken to several people, right? The lawyer, the father, trying to understand what's really happening in Kanpur over there. But at the moment, what is the status of the investigation? From what we can see, it seems like police earlier did not respond. Now under pressure is doing some wishy-washy statements, some wishy-washy charges that have been put against him. And as we speak, according to his father's admission, the man continues to be in Delhi.
Well, indeed, Sonal, what we are seeing is an attempt to cover up the crucial facts in this very particular matter. The latest development is the father and the lawyer of Shivam Mishra has clearly said that Shivam was not driving the car. In fact, a person named Mohan had filed an affidavit in the court saying, I was driving the car, I was on driver's seat, and Shivam Mishra has nothing to do with it. So that's the argument of Shivam Mishra's lawyer and his family. On the other hand, we have been seeing that Kanpur police has clearly said that as per the investigation, the facts that they have, the proofs that they possess, according to it, Shivam Mishra was the driver and he was driving it, and they have videos to back it up, which they will file it in the form of charge sheet in the court, and they are expecting the action to be taken soon. But what court has done is that issued a notification or a notice to the Kanpur police, asked them for their report, which has not been submitted yet. Yes, there have been washed up investigation in the starting. Several questions raised that why, even after 48 hours now, no medical was done up. There has been clear rule that within 24 hours, the medical of the accused should be done. There have been questions that whether he was under the influence of alcohol or not. But the time has gone. The medical was not done. So keeping in mind these kind of acts, the action was taken on the local SHO. no one else. But the responsibility should be fixed at the senior level, which was involved in this very particular investigation. Now, as you rightly pointed out, after the media ran this report, after there has been voices on the social media putting pressure on Kanpur police, we are seeing this action. But on the first 2 days, the investigation was completely botched up. In fact, a VVIP protocol was given to the Lamborghini car inside the Gwaltoli police station. The bouncers were allowed to come inside, guard the car, misbehave with the family of the victims. So this has been the situation as of now. But now the Kanpur police has suddenly woken up, and they say that action will be taken. And no matter what the lawyer says, we will in fact charge sheet him, Shivam Mishra. Since the sections imposed in the FIR were not serious enough, all have the punishment of below 7 years, the police can't arrest him technically. Only thing they can do is summon him for questioning, and then they can file a charge sheet in the court. So that also we saw that the police came, banged the doors of Shivam Mishra, but he didn't allow the police person for 30 minutes inside their premises. So that has been the situation as of now. Now it remains to be seen that what more further developments we are going to see in this very particular case. So,
All right, Simar, thanks so much for joining us. So what's peculiar in this case is that the Kanpur police is saying that, no, we are very serious, we'll pursue this case, but we will not attach more serious charges. We will get after him, but we will not question him. We will ensure justice is met for those who have been harmed, but we will not question him. We will not even go down to understanding what really happened. That's the reality of Kanpur police, of UP police as of now. All right, cutting across to some updates coming in from Parliament, and this time about an India Today interview that has echoed in Parliament. Pollution has finally been mentioned in Lok Sabha, and this thanks to the SP chief, the Samajwadi party chief Akhilesh Yadav, who mentioned the India Today interview. Akhilesh went on to say that investments are down in India because of pollution, and he said that it was that interview, the Davos roundtable hosted by India Today, where this was brought up. Just to jog your memory over there, remember that there was a roundtable held at the World Economic Forum that was hosted by India Today, hosted by our Vice Chairman Kali Puri, where in a question that she asked Geeta Gopinath on ease of doing business, the response she got from Geeta Gopinath was that air pollution is a bigger problem that India faces than US tariffs. And that quote being picked up by Akhilesh Yadav while he was making a point in Parliament. Let's listen in to what he said.
ठीक ही कहा हमारे माननीय सदस्य ने कि जो संपन्न हैं, प्रिविलेज्ड हैं, वो लोग तो पानी साफ करने की मशीन खरीद सकते हैं। हमारा गरीब क्या खरीदेगा? गरीब की हेल्थ को कितनी परेशानी और रिस्क है। यहां तक कि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय प्लेटफॉर्म पर हमारे देश को भी सुनना पड़ा एक प्रतिष्ठित चैनल पर कि आपके देश में इन्वेस्टमेंट क्यों आएगा, क्योंकि वहां आ ही नहीं सकता है, क्योंकि आपकी हवा खराब है।
All right, you heard Akhilesh Yadav over there, but what exactly was that statement that he's talking about inside Parliament? Let's give you a glimpse of that. This is Kali Puri of India Today in interaction with Geeta Gopinath and several others at that roundtable in Davos.
Geeta, I don't know whether you know, but there's a Rajiv Guava committee which is looking at deregulation. I want to ask you, is making another committee to get rid of bureaucratic red tape the best way forward?
Well, I assume that this is not just a committee for its own sake, but the hope is that it's going to come up with actual actionable plans.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, India needs a lot more deregulation. It is still, in terms of ease of doing business, it is still a challenging place to do business. I'd love to hear from you in terms of what challenges you face. So taking out more and more of the archaic rules that have held back businesses is absolutely critical. But then all other aspects of India will also have to continue in terms of the reforms will have to continue, the ones we talked about on land and labor. One of the areas I wanted to point out, which we usually don't talk about when you're talking about business development, is I want to talk about pollution. Mm-hmm. Pollution is a challenge in India. And if you look at the impact of pollution on the Indian economy, it is far more consequential than any impact of any tariffs that have been put on India so far. If you look at the annual cost to India's GDP of the level of pollution that you have, and it's not just the effect on economic activity, but it's also the loss in lives. I mean, the numbers are really large. Based on a World Bank study that was done, I think it was published in 22, about 1.7 million lives are lost every year in India because of pollution. That's 18% of the deaths in India. I think even from any international investor's perspective who's thinking of coming in and putting up a shop in India, if you have to live there and you have the environment is not of the kind that you feel that, okay, this is going to be consequential for your health, it holds you back. And obviously, not to say, but all the Indians that are living in this kind of pollution. So addressing that on a war footing is critical. I mean, this has to be a mission, a top mission for India.
All right, so you notice over there that the question was not on pollution. The question was on ease of doing business. And Geeta Gopinath on her own brings up the pollution issue. And that statement has now made its way to Parliament. Akhilesh Yadav raising that matter as well. Let me cut across to my colleague Aishwarya Paliwal on this one. Aishwarya, for months now, we've been talking about how pollution is not a priority. Today, finally, it's been mentioned at least. It's not been picked up for discussion, but at least mentioned. We're very glad that our coverage has been quoted over here. He talks about how, we've been constantly talking about pollution and how now it's being raised at international forums as well. But what exactly was the context of Akhilesh Yadav's speech where he spoke about pollution?
Well, Sonal, he was speaking about budget and what he was expecting from the budget and what the budget did not deliver. He also, in fact, spoke about the fact that on our channel, the root cause of what exactly is happening in India and how economically it is hampering us, how it is damaging us, and how it will have a long-term impact on our economy. That is something which we now need to very clearly look at. Now, pollution, Sonal, you rightly pointed out that this was something that we were hoping that the MPs will be speaking about. The MPs, in fact, most of them, the Congress MPs last time around, were speaking about it. But on the floor of the Parliament, so far, the government has not had a discussion on what exactly it is doing with regards to pollution. Akhilesh Yadav, however, now spoke about the fact that it is something which the government should very keenly look at because it is hampering our economic growth. It is leading to many, many deaths, and it will have a long-term impact on our GDP. Sonal.
All right, Aishwarya, thanks so much for bringing us up to speed with that. But stay tuned. We've got more Parliament updates coming in on what exactly happened there. Let's take you to that now. Opposition parties have submitted a notice to move a no-confidence motion seeking the removal of the Lok Sabha Speaker under Article 94C of the Constitution. Now, what does this mean? The notice has been handed out to the Secretary General of Lok Sabha, and it has the backing of 118 opposition MPs. What's peculiar here is that Rahul Gandhi has not signed the notice. Congress sources say that respecting the dignity of the parliamentary democracy, it is not appropriate for the leader of opposition to sign a no-confidence notice against the speaker. However, sources said that TMC refrained from signing the motion as well. Now, Lok Sabha sources say that notice will be examined and proceeded as per rules. However, a factual error in the notice has now emerged. It is mentioned the year 2025 instead of 26, raising the possibility of a rejection. The opposition soon then submitted a revised notice. The opposition has cited multiple grievances, including repeated denial of Rahul Gandhi's opportunity to speak, suspension of opposition members, and also alleged selective action by the chair. The move comes after consultations amongst the India bloc leaders who also raised concerns over BJP MP Nishikant Dubey's remarks, controversial claims suggesting women MPs posed a threat to the Prime Minister, etc. Meanwhile, BJP women MPs have written to the Speaker, Om Birla, demanding action against opposition MPs who ghirawed the PM's chair. So now it's become a big kissa of who do you really believe? Let me go back to Aishwarya on this one. Aishwarya, all right, before that, let's also play out one of the reactions that have come in from the Parliament.
My stand is we should be seen as someone more, and we are. Otherwise, what is the difference between BJP and us? We have always represented and are always tolerant. We have always shown restraint. We have believed in the ideologies of Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Swami Vivekananda. And we also has immense respect for the chair and the institutions these legends or the revolutionaries of the countries have created. So our approach has always been constructive, always been calibrated. Instead of trying to flex muscles, we want to give an opportunity to the chair. If our issues are not addressed in 3 days, then we can always move a no confidence motion against the speaker. There's no problem. So there's no place for ambiguity or doubt.
आप जानते हैं 4 फरवरी को क्या क्या हुआ, पूरे देश ने भी देखा है और वो निंदनीय कथा थी क्योंकि ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए था। उस दिन टेबल पे चढ़े सांसद और वो बहुत गलत दिखाता है क्योंकि हम यहाँ पे लोकतंत्र के लिए आए हैं, काम करने के लिए आए हैं। जो हमारी डिमांड्स हैं, जो हमारी मांगे हैं, बहुत तरीके होते हैं उनको सामने लाने के, उनको मांगने के लिए सही तरीके होते हैं। वो बहुत गलत तरीका था। फिर उसके बाद महिला सांसद हमारे ट्रेजरी बेंच की तरफ आई, पीएम जी के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के पूरे चेयर को घेरा उन्होंने, ये सब बहुत गलत है। और मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जनाऊंगी अध्यक्ष जी का, ओम बिरला जी का, जिन्होंने इसको संभाला, बहुत अच्छी तरह से संभाला। प्रधानमंत्री को रिक्वेस्ट किया कि उस दिन वो ना आए क्योंकि बात हाथ से बाहर जा सकती थी और वो नहीं हुआ। इसलिए बहुत संयम से हमारे ओम बिरला जी ने इसको संभाला और बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद है उनका। और ऐसा कभी फिर से नहीं होना चाहिए। जिसके लिए हम आए हैं, हमें वही करना चाहिए।
All right, Aishwarya now back with us for more on this. Aishwarya, you and I were discussing this the day it happened, and we were talking about the unseen footage. Now that unseen footage has been put out by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister. At the heart of it, the charge is pretty serious. If you were to float a no-confidence motion against a speaker, we haven't heard of that in the past. So the opposition is pretty aggressive on this one. And number two, I want to point out that at the end of the day, to make the House function is the responsibility of the government, correct? And then if the speaker is not being seen as bipartisan, the opposition is getting riled up on that.
Well, Sonal, the opposition believes that as much as it is, the onus is on them, it is also on the government to make sure that the House functions. And that's the reason why we are seeing today a change in the stance. Let me tell you what exactly has happened. When we speak about the opposition camp, the major players are Samajwadi Party, the TMC and the Congress Party. Now, the Congress Party has been very clear since day one that they wanted Rahul Gandhi to speak on certain issues. He did speak on day one, and after that, the whole controversy blew out. And then we did see how the other opposition parties, the TMC and the Samajwadi Party, they were clear that they want to speak on the budget, and that's why we saw today Akhilesh Yadav from the Samajwadi Party speaking, Abhishek Banerjee from the TMC speaking, but they are also pointing fingers at the government and saying that the government should have given enough time for Rahul Gandhi to speak, and then the discussion on budget would have actually happened. The government on the other side is saying that we are the ones who are allotting you time, but you are not speaking on the subject that you are supposed to speak. But things now have calmed down. We did see how the top opposition leaders have spoken. The Finance Minister Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor will be speaking tomorrow. Her reply in the Lok Sabha will happen tomorrow on the budget.
All right, Aishwarya, stay around with us because we've got some more breaking news coming in. And this time, top sources are telling India Today at this point that the Lok Sabha Speaker, Om Birla, the man in question and against whom the no trust notice is set to be moving tomorrow morning, will not attend the House until the motion to remove him is discussed and decided upon in the House. Remember, the rules do not require him to do anything like that, but nevertheless, he's decided not to attend the House. Regardless of the government or opposition's effort to persuade him, he will not attend. Aishwarya, how are we to understand this? Om Birla not taking it nicely. He's saying, I'm not coming to the parliament now till the time this charge against me is discussed or not.
No, Sonal, this is not how we should be looking at it. Let me tell you what exactly Om Birla has been saying and thinking. Even today, that meeting took place between Kiran Rijiju and the floor leaders of the opposition parties. Om Birla excused himself because he said that if you want to discuss this no confidence motion, then I should stay out of it. And that's the reason why we are now seeing that the speaker has now decided that he will not be sitting on the chair till the time of finality comes with regards to what needs to happen with this motion. From what I can understand at the moment, the signatures are there, but I do not think when it will go for voting, this is a motion that will get passed, and that's the reason why we are seeing Om Birla as a speaker excusing himself. In fact, let's just look at it as someone on whom allegations have been allegations have been put, fingers are being pointed. He cannot be a part of the panel. That is the thinking of the Speaker Om Birla. He in fact has been maintaining that he tries to make sure that he gives as much space to the opposition as possible. The opposition, however, believes, and especially the Congress party, they believe that he's not, he in fact has been biased. They also believe that more time should be given to the opposition rulers, more time should be given to those who really want to speak about certain rule versus rule. That is something that we are looking at the moment. So,
Aishwarya, also news coming in, and this is again to update our viewers. It is likely that the motion to remove the speaker will be discussed on the 9th of March. That's the first day of the second part of the budget session as well. And we are getting to know that about 50 MPs will be asked to raise their hands for this purpose. Now, sources also indicating that a no-confidence motion against the speaker may be discussed only on the 9th of March at the beginning of the second part of the budget session. So, more details now coming in, and the chair may initiate a discussion on the motion as well. So far, we're told about 50 MPs will be asked to raise their hands for this purpose. So all those formalities being worked out in the middle. Parliament hasn't had much functioning over the past couple of days. All right, let me try and see if we can get back to our colleague Aishwarya to give us more sense of what is happening. Aishwarya, they're telling us that the Speaker Om Birla has decided to excuse himself from the proceedings when this no confidence motion does indeed come up. So this is serious after having given a faulty letter there. Now, after revising that date, the opposition pretty certain to take it forward, and the date has also been set. The date has been set for the 9th of March. That is the second part of the budget session when the Parliament sits in. Now, regardless of what exactly the government or the opposition efforts to persuade Mr. Birla to sit back, it looks like he has decided to excuse himself from the entire fiasco. But what exactly happened here? Let's look at the timeline. For those of our viewers just tuning in, let's understand what happened. Now, last week, the Prime Minister was expected to speak in the Lok Sabha and was supposed to give his motion of thanks on the budget speech, also the President's address that he was supposed to make in Parliament. But that could not happen because of the massive commotion that took place. But let's get more sense of this. My colleague Maria Shakil joins us from the newsroom. Maria, make sense of what's happening here?
Yes, you know, it's very sudden, I would say, and something that we were not really expecting, for the Lok Sabha Speaker to step aside and recuse himself from the entire proceedings of the House. It's only 3 more days left for this part of the budget session to end, and then there'll be a recess, and then the remaining part will begin in the month of March. We are being joined by Manikam Tagore, Senior Congress leader and Member of Parliament. Mr. Tagore, thank you for speaking to India today. My question is, you know, this is, of course, something that we have not seen in the past. There has been difference of opinion between the opposition and the chair, in this case, Mr. Om Birla. But now he has decided that until there is a decision, of course, the decision with regards to the motion, which is the no confidence motion, which is likely to be taken up around 9th or 10th of March, he will not be overseeing the proceedings of the House. How is the opposition viewing this?
Yeah, the opposition, this is an extraordinary step for the opposition out of an extraordinary circumstance for us. Because we need to understand that never the leader of opposition was not allowed to speak for the 2 days whenever he stood up to speak in the motion to thank the Honorable President's address to the Parliament. And it's been a convention. You had been covering Parliament for long years. You know that the Parliament with maybe Sushma Swaraj, it may be before that of L.K. Advaniji, or before that with Mrs. Sonia Gandhi as leader of opposition. In 90s also, the same coalition government has worked. Opposition leader and the Parliamentary Affairs Minister are 2 people, whenever they stand up, the mic is given to them. That is the convention of the Parliament for many years. But after post-2014, that has been changed. They said that we don't have the numbers, recognized number to be the leader of opposition status. Therefore, it's a only floor group, therefore they can't recognize as leader of opposition. Now Rahul Gandhi ji has that requisite number also, but he's been treated badly by the government. That usually whenever leader of opposition wants to speak also, he's not allowed.
Mr. Tagore, the question really is, if you look at the visuals which have come out, not from one source but from multiple sources, for opposition MPs to leave their side of the benches where they are supposed to be seated and cross over to the treasury benches next to the Prime Minister certainly doesn't really augur well for how the proceedings of the House should be conducted.
You know, you had covered Parliament in 2012-11 also.
Yes.
11-12 also. Dr. Manmohan Singh in Rajya Sabha, I can send you a picture of it. I can send you a video which India Today can run it also. There is where BJP MPs have been protesting with Dr. Manmohan Singh when he was giving speeches. They have crossed that line also. So these are all, we don't touch each other, but we protest. That's the methodology of protest in Parliament. We don't hit each other, but we protest with dignity. So it is not that thing that we are crossing that limit. This is that border. It is not India-Pakistan border to cross it. We need to understand that this has happened before also. Dr. Manmohan Singh, I can say, I had written it earlier also.
But Mr. Tagore, shouldn't efforts be made from both the sides to really try and ensure that there is some kind of an effort, some kind of communication line between the two sides to let the House function? What is appearing right now is more than the trust deficit, there is a complete breakdown of communication as well.
We need to understand that this is the effort of the leader of opposition, that we should participate in the budget debate itself. Yesterday, if you see in your television, you had run the story of Kiran Reju saying that in confused, if opposition is protesting, we will pass the budget without discussion. That was the statement of the Parliamentary Affairs Minister yesterday.
Okay.
But today, we decided that we will go last time to the Speaker for his course correction on 4 important things.
Okay.
And we requested, and leader opposition approached him.
Okay.
And
all right.
That was not solved. We were given last option. We were having only one option to move and no confidence against it.
Okay. Something that we have seen also play out in the Rajya Sabha just 2 years ago against the then, chairman of the Rajya Sabha and the vice president, Mr. Dhankar. Thank you for joining us, Manikam Tagore. So, Sonal, thrice in the past, let me give you the dates exactly for the benefit of our viewers. 1954, 1966 and 1987, that a motion of this nature was adopted and the entire proceedings began. Of course, in all these 3 cases, it was rejected finally. Although the first step is to get the numbers to move such a motion, the opposition does have that number. But given the kind of tension which we are witnessing, if you look at these images and the visuals, Sonal, it also shows that something has gone wrong. That for this kind of movement to happen from the opposition side to a chair close to the Prime Minister, then there are union ministers from Ashwini Vaishnav to Piyush Goyal to others reaching out to the opposition MPs, telling them to go back to the chair. Certainly it looks like complete chaos, complete pandemonium, something which has also meant that Speaker Om Birla himself has decided that he will not be on the Speaker's chair till the time a decision is taken on the no confidence, which is likely to come up only in the later part of the budget session.
Right. But Maria, having, seen Parliament through all these years, one has to say that every time this happens, it means that the back channel conversation has not worked. Back when other governments have also been in power, there used to be always this 1 or 2 mantris who were supposed to be the sutardhar. They would ensure, they were pally with the opposition side. They would ensure that they come to a consensus. Is that missing in the current benches? At the moment, are, the opposition side and the government just simply not talking, which is why we see such escalation of tension on the floor of the House?
I would not rule that out, Sonal, but look at the construct of this Lok Sabha. It is very different from what, say, 2014 Lok Sabha or 2019 Lok Sabha was. The difference here is, Sonal, that in 2024, the BJP's overall tally did go down. Of course, this is an NDA government which is there in 2024 results, there was a lot of aggression in the opposition. What followed after that was repeated assembly elections and their victories, which went all the way to the BJP's kitty. So there is that tension between the two sides. What is also evident here is that the opposition has decided that they will be showing all the aggression in the run-up to elections, something that we saw ahead of Bihar elections, something that we saw ahead of Delhi elections, Sonal. That is also playing out on the floor of the House. So now that there are crucial 5 state elections which are scheduled for the month of April, May, that's where out of 5, the opposition is in power in close to 3. That's where we are seeing that kind of an aggression play out in the House, something that will be reflected also on the ground in these poll-bound states.
Yeah, but conventionally, isn't the government responsible for keeping the peace of the House? Conventionally, isn't it said that the government will actually ensure that there is consensus and the House runs a particular way?
So I remember that famous sentence that was said by the then leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, that was Mr. Arun Jaitley. He had famously said that the onus of running the House is with the Treasury benches. Of course, that time the BJP was in opposition. But there was also this sense, Sonal, that at that time there was a great degree of camaraderie, a great degree of communication which used to happen between the opposition and the Treasury benches. They would come on talking table. Right now there is that tension which is visible, a complete and total trust deficit, and at the same time, complete breakdown of communication between the two sides. Although, when you enter, at the Makar Dwar or such dwars that are there through which MPs enter, they do exchange some kind of pleasantries. But when it is inside the House, that tension is palpable.
All right, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you so much, Mahesh Shakil, for joining us with the very latest. When the opposition and the government cannot see eye to eye, who fails? Parliament fails, you and I fail, because our taxpayers' money is actually going into running that parliament, which is not running because of the heightened tensions.